at least talking with African Americans that I've worked with, have met, gone to school with. Some of them, I haven't gotten to these yet. I will talk with some of my clients who've had some pretty amazing experiences. And I got obviously delved into those experiences with them when I represented them, but that was, again, just this little slice of their life.
Right.
And that's not the whole story by a long shot. So that's what possessed me to do it. And I'm looking for that thing that I can sort of sink my teeth into and say, this particular solution, along with the dialogue, is the one I want to spend some time and energy on when I'm not practicing law. So I haven't found that piece yet. I'm still looking, still reading. I don't want to pick too fast and pick something that is ultimately going to be ineffective. But that's essentially what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, and I commend you for doing it. I think it's interesting. Just having kind of cross-cultural dialogue.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people don't. I would encourage, people. I always ask this. If you think about your situation or your friends or the people you're with, I mean, how many times are you the only person of your race in a room? Yeah. And so when I was recruiting for this company, they were wanting to recruit more diverse candidates. And so one of the things that we said we're going to do is go to historically Black colleges. And we're going to spend like 3 days there. We develop programs to meet with the faculty and students and have a career fair and interview and all this stuff. And it was so interesting because one of the managers, Caucasian manager from IT, who really I hadn't had a lot of conversation with, when we got down to the environment, which was at Florida A&M, was all Black, predominantly Black. He was my best friend. He followed me everywhere. And it was so interesting because I finally looked at him and I said, look, what we're doing down here is trying to get out and meet people and let them understand who we are as a company, what we're like, so that we can, enhance our recruiting. And you being right beside me doesn't do that. You got to get out there in that environment. But, and he finally did, but I think it was uncomfortable because he had likely never been in that type of a situation where he is one of very few or one of the only one in that group. I, on almost a daily basis, am the only one of my race in a majority of the meetings that I go to.
Yeah.
And, it's not, it's not that I'm crying and, oh, woe's me. It is just a reality. And that's another thing that my wife and I wanted to ensure, that our sons grew up feeling comfortable in any environment.
Sure.
Whether it's a totally Black environment, it's a mixed race environment, it's totally white environment, that they can kind of go in and out of those environments and feel very, very comfortable. And I think they've been able to do that.
Yeah. I know your time is valuable by the hour. What I sent you a few list of questions that I just come up with for my first one of these calls. I've obviously deviated from that quite a bit. What have I not asked you that you would like to talk about? Because I know you've been thinking about this for a while too. So.
I would say, so one of the questions that I get asked a lot of times is, because although you do defense work as well, right?
Very little, but enough to keep me intellectually honest, is like I like to say it.
So a lot of times people ask me, how did you end up on, the side of the company when there's so many, cases out there that are discrimination cases. And I go back to my experience with corporate America when one of the things that I was doing, as well as working in recruiting and in kind of salary administration, was also helping implement their drug testing program, and really got to see, so we worked like 6 months ahead of time before it ever rolled out, just planning and how we were going to communicate to the employees, and you know, talking about how will this affect this group or that group or this group, and really trying to make it a program that was going to be beneficial for all employees. And it was that kind of thought process that I experienced, and I'm not saying all companies do it that way, but that really helped me to see that, you know, companies are trying to do the right thing. You know, a lot of times I think when we get into what we call our discrimination suits, you've got either a manager that didn't manage well, or an employee that maybe wasn't doing his or her job well. And when that clashes, you know, you kind of get into these lawsuits. And I'm not saying that there's not discrimination out there, because I have seen it, but I do think that a lot of our cases would probably go away if we had more substantive conversations with people who are different than us. Because I do think that there is a breakdown in communication in a lot of our cases.
That's a very good point, because in the times that I've seen it, or at least had a client who was alleging it, very often there was either a power imbalance to the degree where really only one side could have that conversation without fear, right? So the other person either has to clamp way down on whatever they're thinking or feeling or want to express, because they know if they do, they're gonna be branded as a troublemaker, or, you know, the stereotypical, you know, angry black man, angry black woman, whatever. And there are only a couple of instances that I can think of in my 8 years of doing employment cases where the company has actually fostered a true sit down and actually required the participants to talk to one another in a call it a supervised environment, where nobody was going to be allowed to let their emotions or their anger get out of hand. So that to me is great. And I've never thought that you doing corporate side, I mean, you're in a position to exert influence on a macro level, because it's, you know, it's all fun and games with HR until someone files a lawsuit, and
Right.
you may be saying the exact same things that HR has been saying internally, but because you're the outside retained counsel coming in, suddenly that idea is going to have a little more oomph behind it, and might actually impact a corporate culture and a corporate environment. So, you know, I'm fixing one guy's problem. In theory, you may be fixing thousands of them in a single action.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm glad you're doing that work, because it's you're you know, it's preventative medicine. It's not, you know, fixing a broken arm later, which is I think is fantastic. Well, that's all the questions I've got for now, Stacey. I cannot thank you enough for spending part of your Friday with me. Would you be willing to find and email that book you mentioned? Was it the Killing Rage or something? Black Rage. That's it. I'm sorry.
Yep. I'll see if I can get that one.
Find it. What I've been doing is throwing either an Amazon link or a link to find wherever that book is. I've tried to do that in videos, and I'd really appreciate it. If you want to do this again sometime, email me, and I'd be happy to do it. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff to talk about in the days and weeks to come as things sort of shift. You know, Seattle's going crazy right now with
right.
City blocking off parts of the city, and we haven't gotten to that in Arizona. Hopefully, it won't happen in Denver, but it's a mad world right now. It's going to be interesting to see where we go from here.
You know, I think what's happening has really required people to have conversations. One, I think, with Mr. Floyd, what happened, I've had people who have said things to me about it that in another situation would have not ever addressed it. And so the shedding off of downtowns and those types of things, I mean, it's inconvenient, but I think it also makes people address kind of what is happening. And
We
so,
can't not talk about it. I mean,
yep.
that's the thing. I mean, I drove downtown where I was supposed to be in trial this week, and they've got giant concrete blocks blocking off both sides of the major block, Jefferson and Washington Street, in front of all the courthouses. You cannot drive down during the day and everything. You can walk down, you can protest down, and there were some folks doing exactly that when I had to go down there early this week. But it is an entirely different space when you've got everything blocked off.
Right.
And, like, wow, I have not seen that. We've had a curfew. I asked I'm not from here in Arizona originally, and I asked a longtime Arizona resident, have you ever seen a curfew in Arizona? And he said no. So, we are facing, to me, a sort of a crossroads of the one side of wanting to bring the force to bear to sort of squeeze everything back into the semi-peaceful box, or the form of peace. Okay, forget what it looks like underneath. If peace is a box, we're going to shove all this. Never mind that the box is bursting out, at the top and everything else. That's what peace looks like, and we're going to make it be that again. And then the folks who are saying there's a fundamental disconnect and a shift that has to happen. Still don't know what it looks like. Still don't know where the pieces fit, but it's not going to look like that box anymore. We're just going to keep this year after year after year, and there's a lot of people who are tired of it.
Very good. Well, I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's good to get some dialogue started, and the hope is that the conversations move into whether it's legislation or changes in the law. But at the end of the day, I think there has to be some type of a shift or a change in the way we police.
Yeah, I agree. I've been looking. Do you know who Sir Robert Peel was?
I don't.
I'll send you this link when we're done, or I'll post it in the video or something. But I just found this today, actually. The guy who invented the original police force, Sir Robert Peel, in London. He started what became the Metropolitan Police Association, or whatever it is, in Great Britain. And he has 3 core ideas and 9 principles for policing that when you read it, you're like, that's what we're missing. It is basically the idea is, look, the public is the police force, and we just happen to hire a few extra people to do it full time. And it's policing by consent. It is policing with courtesy. I mean, it's amazing to read this little set of principles from 1820 or something. I mean, it's from a long time ago, and it feels like it's time to sort of drag that into the 21st century and have a new blueprint for the future. Pardon the pun, but I will send you that just to see. It's a law enforcement reform group had posted it, and I was amazed, and I was like, yeah, this is some fun stuff to talk about for at least doing the policing part different.
Yeah, definitely so.
All right, Stacey, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and good luck with all the law practice stuff. I know what that life is like, so
all right.
I'll leave it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.